And welcome back to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show hosted by an NFL player. He's Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker. I'm weight loss champion Chuck Carroll. And it's time to go dialing for Colorado.
The Peyton Pulse?
That's what we're going to call it. Your name is better than mine.
We do dialing for Colorado. Was that your name? Was that your best?
Evidently, it wasn't very good, but yes, Mom, I tried.
All right. So, if you haven't been listening, we do this thing every week because my off-season home is in Colorado. My wife and family are still back there, and so we do this thing called the Peyton Pulse. So we see what's in the news, the local news there, just outside of Denver in Colorado. And every week we bring in my lovely wife, Angela. And are you with us, Angie?
I'm here. And
she gives us a report and tells us what's going on. So, what is the Peyton Pulse for this week, honey?
Well, he had his first game last night, and everybody was pretty excited. It was all over the news, and he looked really good. He drove down the first drive all the way down the field. Unfortunately, his pass got tipped, and then it was picked off. But I think they're pretty excited that they actually have a quarterback that can throw, and not scary every time he steps back into the pocket. I think, yeah, they're really excited about it.
Well, good. So they're excited about the forward pass. All right. Very cool.
Your wife is the gift that just keeps on giving. Last week it was that he's buried by a 17-year-old girl. This week they're excited about somebody that can throw a forward pass.
Well, you know what? That's why I married her. She's so awesome. So what you're saying, see, when I was back in Colorado during the offseason, people, I talked to people about Tebow when he was the quarterback, and they were kind of 50-50 split. Obviously, the 50 that was pro-Tebow was just going nuts for him. The 50 that was anti-Tebow was very anti-Tebow, not as a person, but as a football player. But what you're saying is everyone's pretty much on board when it comes to Peyton. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. And they even had a thing on the news the other day of, was he worth all the money? And they said, well, the turnout in their training camp alone, was unreal, which means sales are galore right now. So I'd say they're pretty excited.
All right. Well, very cool. Thanks for coming on and joining us again for this week. I'll let you get back to our little ones, and thanks for coming on.
Not a problem.
Thanks, right. Mrs. Carriker.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So that kind of leads. First of all, thanks to my lovely wife for coming on. And that kind of leads us, because last week we had this little debate. Mark Sanchez, Tim Tebow, and I wasn't anti-Sanchez whatsoever. I am very pro-Sanchez. I think the guy can be a really good quarterback, but you were not so much on the Tebow bandwagon. So I think Tebow is going to be a good quarterback. He's obviously a good player. I think he can be a good quarterback. I think he won a high school championship. He won, a national championship. And I'm curious to see how this is going to play out over this season. We're going to see who's right. We're going to see that I'm right and you're wrong. That's what we're going to see.
Well, I'll tell you where you're wrong already. You're wrong in that I'm not a Tebow guy. It has nothing to do with Tebow. It has everything to do with Mark Sanchez getting the shaft. There is absolutely no reason. Okay, hear me now. There is absolutely no reason for them to go out and acquire Tim Tebow, and you're just not going to get me to budge on this. You're not going to get me to budge on this. I will say this. The reports out of New York this week saying Sanchez is looking much better.
Why do you think that is?
Because he has competition.
Thank you.
But it doesn't mean he would have looked poor if Tim Tebow weren't there. I'm still saying it was the wrong decision. The Jets would have been better off going out and getting themselves some other player. It's a coincidence that the guy's in the league for 3 years, and now all of a sudden this fourth year just happens to be the year when Tebow gets there. All of a sudden he's looking much better now. It's not a coincidence. It's just the wrong thing to do. It's morally wrong. You're going to see. No. Rex Ryan is morally bankrupt for going out and getting himself Tim Tebow. Morally bankrupt. Him and that GM, I forget his name, morally bankrupt. Tannenbaum? We'll go with Tannenbaum. I don't know if that's I'm just throwing it out there. It was on Hard Knocks. I don't know. I hope that's right. I know what he looks like. I don't know if that helps. But we're going to see throughout this preseason and this season, we're going to see that I was right. You know what it could be, actually. You know why Sanchez is playing better. It's the LaRon Landry influence. LaRoning? Have they been doing some LaRoning? I have no idea. They're not on Hard Knocks this year.
you know, I will proudly take credit for any LaRonning that goes on in this world because I am the initiator. I am the instigator. And I might send out some more LaRonning picks. It's about time for me to do some more LaRonning picks. But we're talking about quarterbacks. And I had spoken of a surprise earlier in the first segment.
Yeah.
I did something without your knowledge.
What's that?
I conducted my very first solo interview.
You did.
I did.
You did.
I'm rather proud of myself.
Wait a minute. Does that mean that we're only taping 3 segments today? Is that how we're rolling?
Well, yeah, we only have to do 3 segments. I really just didn't want to work that much longer, so I just went ahead and did it on my own. No, there's a guy in our locker room that people have heard of, Robert Griffin III.
Shut up.
And come to find out, he was a huge wrestling fan back in the day. And so I'm like, you know what, my locker's right next to us. I'm like, you know what, buddy, you come on. I got a show. You want to just talk wrestling for 10 to 12 minutes? He's like, sure. Why not? So I went ahead and I did it.
Shut up.
Okay.
You got Robert Griffin III to come on this show.
Yeah. It was just me and him, just chatting it up, having a good time, talking about some wrestling, you know?
Holy crap. Do you know how big that is?
Hey, man, it was just 2 guys, 2 teammates, 2 buddies just talking some wrestling. We were just having a good time with it. I mean, I love it. There's certain guys in our locker room that were wrestling fans. I know Ryan Kerrigan, I know Rack, I know Robert. So, I'm going to try and get these guys to come on the show and just chat some wrestling with us throughout the year.
Speechless.
Dude, close your mouth. I'm
seriously stunned, man. Like, Robert Griffin III, your quarterback.
Hold on. Are you like going to turn into some sort of groupie?
I'm not turning into a groupie.
Blink,
I just
please.
don't think that you understand like the enormity of what it is that you just did.
I was just
That's
having a
like
good time.
Moses parting the Red Sea, man.
I don't know what to say to that one. I mean,
Wow.
I raised the staff. I don't
know what to say either other than thank you. That's huge.
Well, sweet. Well, we're going to play that in our very next segment. So hopefully you fans out there, you can hear Mr. Robert Griffin III talk a little pro wrestling.
Dare I ask how it went?
I think it went well. I mean, I have never conducted a solo interview before in my life. I have been interviewed 4 billion times, but conducting one of my own was rather fun, to be honest with you.
You are a media darling.
Your
God
job
bless
is
you.
so easy, by the way.
It is not.
I mean, you just sit there and you just talk to the dude for 10 to 12 minutes. How hard is that?
Oh, I'll be the judge of that when I hear this interview.
Dude, it was so simple.
I'm going to critique you.
I could do
I'm
your
going to
job.
send you notes.
I could do your job half asleep in a freaking, I don't know, 6 feet under.
I could do your job half asleep. Not very well, but I could.
Well, hey, we did have one last thing. We got to make a little transition here. We did have one last thing we want to talk about. You wanted to talk about the referees and the situation that's going on there. Yeah,
man. Obviously, you know that you are playing with replacement officials. They are in place, I believe, at the very least through your next preseason game. But I was just curious, are you aware of the credential of some of these referees? It's not very good.
I just know that there's some sort of labor situation, kind of like what we had last year. It's not gotten near the publicity. I know that we have replacement referees out there right now. That's all I know.
Yeah, I actually learned a lot of this last week when I was writing a column for CBSDC.com, particularly on the female official. And there's not a problem with there being a female official. As one person put it, I believe it was Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk, he said, I don't have a problem with a woman ref. I have a problem with the fact that the NFL is trotting out second best at best. And so I did a little bit of digging. This female official, she has, I believe, 17 years of officiating experience. Sounds pretty good, right? 14 of those years were in high school. Since that time, she's been in Division I AA. The NCAA won't allow Division I referees, your BCS caliber refs, to come up and moonlight on Sundays in the NFL. They let them do that 11 years ago when there was another labor situation.
Why won't they let them?
I don't know what the liability is there, but they did 11 years ago. This go around, they said no. So the NFL is having to really scramble and go out and get refs that are doing 1AA, Division II, even some D3 refs in there probably. But 17 years of officiating, 14 of which were in high school games.
That's interesting. All I knew is we had our first female ref. It doesn't matter to me whether they're male or female. I just want quality refs out there, whoever it is.
Right, and the issue is not gender. I mean, shoot, there are some very high caliber female officials out there. I have no doubt, regardless of sport. But you're settling for the second best at best, and that's got to be a scary proposition. So last week against the Bills, how would you assess that officiating? Now, it's preseason. Everybody's got rust on them. Is there room for improvement there, do you think?
Well, obviously, there's a reason there's, I call them professional refs. There's a reason there are professional refs because it's not easy to do. I mean, they're watching things. Folks at home are watching things in replay at 1/10 the speed. I mean, they get one shot at it. They have to watch it at game speed. Try not to get killed by us big lugs running around the field. And maybe they get a replay. Maybe they don't. So I have a lot of respect for what they do. So we need the best people out there because it is not easy, despite the fact that they get booed and yelled and cursed at all the time. We need the best people out there, plain and simple.
Scary proposition to think going into the regular season with these guys. I mean, forget where they are now. Do you think that they can develop enough by week 1 to give you guys some quality officiating? I know that's a tough question.
I want.
You can plead the fifth.
No, I won't plead the fifth. I want the best refs out there. I'm not, because if we lose a game that we were supposed to win and we put all this work in because of a bad call, that wouldn't make anybody happy. I want the best refs out there.
But you know what? We have, in all honesty, we've obviously seen some really bad calls even when the best refs are.
That's what I'm saying. It's a hard job to do. So why not give yourself the best possible outcome to begin with? It may not be perfect, but the best possible outcome in the most correct calls.
If you had to predict, do you think that labor deal is going to get done between the refs and the league here?
I have no idea. I don't even know what they're arguing about. I don't know what the discrepancy is. I just want the best refs out there, plain and simple. Cut and dried.
Gotcha. I have no problem with that. You know what? We'll find out as it goes along. It's just, I will say this. It is refreshing that it is referees and not players this go around.
Yeah. Seems like you got the NBA, you got the NFL. Finally, we can just go play ball. Now let's get some refs to call the games.
Absolutely. So let's push pause. On the flip side, you are going to be making your solo interview debut with one Robert Griffin III. Oh, New York.
Why are you playing this?
Because
this is classic stuff that my grandpa would love.
Well,
who's
you
like
know why
95.
this is classic? It's classic because Mark Sanchez is getting the classic shaft right now. That's what this is all about.
That is such a reach.
Well, what if I like some?
Just cue the commercial, man.
Whatever. This is Fourth and Pain. He's Adam Carriker. I'm Chuck Carroll. We'll be right back.
Are longing to stray right through